In 1984, the scientific community finally acknowledged a side of nature that was not only terrifying but also mysterious. An incident that claimed 37 innocent lives, and no one even realized it had happened. It was as if death had silently swallowed their breaths. On the side of a road in Africa, a few people suddenly collapsed to the ground. All at the same moment, in the same way, and for the same reason: suffocation. At first, officials called it an attack by evil spirits, while others superficially labeled it a chemical attack. But if you were to learn the real truth, believe me, it was enough to shake the senses of any ordinary person. Viewers, August 1984, a remote region of Cameroon, Africa. Here lies a calm and peaceful lake known as Lake Monoun. This lake had always been known for its silence and serenity, but that very silence turned into a horrifying catastrophe one night. Small villages surrounded the lake, and a nearby road passed close by. On the night of August 1st, 1984, at exactly 11:30 p.m., people heard a loud rumble. At first, everyone thought it was thunder, but the sky was completely clear. Stars were shining brightly. Soon after the sound, a light mist appeared near the lake's surface. People assumed it was nothing unusual, ignored it, and went to sleep. Throughout the night, that mysterious mist hovered over Lake Monoun. The next morning, around 10:30 a.m., when the wind began to blow, the mist crept slowly along the ground toward the road. Those traveling on the road thought it was just the morning fog, but as soon as they got close, they began gasping for air, and within moments, they were dead. When the wind finally cleared the mist, the sight was horrifying. Bodies lay scattered across the road. Some were pedestrians, some on motorcycles, and others inside their vehicles, all lifeless. That mysterious mist had taken 37 human lives. When police and doctors arrived, they found nothing outwardly suspicious. The initial reports declared the cause of death as suffocation, but the question remained: how? How could 37 people suffocate at the same time, in the same place? This was no ordinary event. Panic spread throughout the region. Some said it was an attack by evil spirits, others claimed it was chemical terrorism. But both theories were weak, for why would terrorists target such a remote village? Soon, attention turned toward nature. Experts focused on the Cameroon Line, a 1,600-kilometer-long volcanic chain stretching from the Gulf of Guinea through the very region where Lake Monoun is located. With the help of the U.S. Embassy, an investigation began, and renowned scientist Harold Sigurdsson was called in. Sigurdsson conducted a detailed examination of Lake Monoun, but found no evidence of volcanic activity, no traces of sulfur, or any volcanic particles in the water. However, when Sigurdsson collected a bottle of water from the lower depths of the lake, gas and foam began to bubble out, just like when you open a bottle of soda. For Sigurdsson, this was a crucial sign. He immediately understood that carbon dioxide gas had dissolved into the water at the bottom of the lake. Post-mortem reports also confirmed that all the victims had died of suffocation caused by carbon dioxide. But one question remained: how did this gas escape from the lake? Carbon dioxide is heavier than normal air. When released in an enclosed space, it sinks downward. Likewise, the mist that was seen over Lake Monoun was actually the same gas, which had gathered close to the ground. But why did it suddenly escape? Sigurdsson explained that volcanic gases were slowly accumulating beneath the lake. These gases had dissolved into the deep water, creating immense pressure. Since the lake was located near the equator, where the weather is always hot, its upper layer remained warm while the lower layer stayed cold. Cold water is heavy, warm water is light, and so for centuries the two layers remained separated. As a result, pressure from carbon dioxide kept increasing at the bottom. Eventually, when the pressure exceeded its limit, the upper layer could no longer hold it, and the gas erupted with an explosion. According to Sigurdsson, Lake Monoun had turned into a ticking time bomb. That explosion, that thunderous sound, marked the beginning of the horrifying tragedy. This phenomenon was later named a limnological burst, or Limnic Eruption, a natural explosion in which deadly gases suddenly erupt from the depths of a lake, turning into a wave of death. After 2 years of relentless research, Sigurdsson published his findings in Science magazine. Initially, many scientists dismissed his theory as nothing more than speculation. But fate had other plans. In 1986, when Lake Nyos experienced the exact same kind of disaster, Sigurdsson's theory became reality. Lake Nyos lies on the same Cameroon line, and is nearly twice the size of Lake Monoun. That night, around 9 p.m., a loud, explosion-like sound was heard. Moments later, from deep within the lake, about 1 cubic kilometer of carbon dioxide gas erupted. That's nearly 300,000 tons of deadly gas. The gas spread rapidly through the nearby valleys, where thousands of people were peacefully asleep in their homes. Within minutes, the entire valley fell silent. The result: 1,746 people dead, and more than 3,500 animals suffocated as well. The sight was beyond belief. Not even flies or insects landed on the corpses, because the gas had wiped out all forms of life in the area. Only 4 people survived, and that too because they happened to be on higher ground. Some remained unconscious for up to 36 hours, and when they finally awoke, they saw nothing but silent bodies around them. Family, friends, all gone. This incident became a haunting reminder. A moment that proved when nature awakens, all human science, all human power, becomes helpless. What was once dismissed as useless and imaginary was finally accepted by the world. After the Lake Nyos disaster, Sigurdsson's theory was proven true, and the global scientific community turned its attention toward both lakes to truly understand this mysterious natural phenomenon. Investigations revealed that the carbon dioxide gas beneath Lake Nyos had been triggered by a landslide. Experts discovered fresh traces of fallen rocks on a mountain above the lake, clear evidence that a collapse had indeed occurred. When thousands of tons of rock crashed into Lake Nyos, they displaced the pressurized carbon dioxide in one massive surge. The gas shot upward, and with it came such force that 25-meter-high waves, like a tsunami, rose within the lake. These waves struck the shores and left nothing but devastation behind. The scene left everyone with a single question: could this happen again? Research showed that both Lake Monoun and Lake Nyos still contained significant amounts of carbon dioxide, and that the concentration was continuing to rise over time. In other words, the danger was far from over. To reduce this threat, scientists proposed several ideas. The most effective and affordable method suggested was to install deep pipes inside the lakes so that carbon dioxide gas could be released slowly and safely. Thus, degassing pipes were installed in both Lake Monoun and Lake Nyos, through which the gas was gradually removed. By 2009, Lake Monoun, and by 2019, Lake Nyos, were declared completely degassed. These 2 lakes were the sites where limnic eruptions, that is, natural gas explosions, occurred. But according to experts, there is still one more lake in the world that remains under the same threat, and that is Lake Kivu. This lake lies on the border between the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and Rwanda. It is so vast that 50 lakes the size of Lake Nyos could fit inside it. In terms of depth too, it is nearly twice as deep as Lake Nyos. Lake Kivu lies in a volcanically active region, where the constant heat of the sun keeps the upper layer of water warm and the lower layer cold, so these layers of water never mix with each other. The most dangerous aspect is that Lake Kivu contains not only carbon dioxide, but also large amounts of methane gas, and methane compared to carbon dioxide reaches saturation much faster, meaning the chances of an explosion are even higher. If such an explosion were to occur in Lake Kivu, the resulting cloud would not only be toxic, but also flammable, meaning it could easily catch fire. What makes this threat even greater is the fact that nearly 2 million people live around Lake Kivu. If an accident were to happen here, it could become one of the greatest natural disasters in human history, one that could claim millions of lives. Scientists around the world are keeping a close watch on this lake. It is still unclear whether such an explosion has ever happened in Kivu before, but research suggests that by 2019, the methane gas in Lake Kivu had already reached near saturation levels. Making Lake Kivu safe is not only difficult, it is almost impossible. One reason is its vast size, and another, the political instability of the region. Because of ongoing conflicts in western DRC, no scientific team can work there safely for an extended period. However, a company called Kivuwatt is running a project to extract methane gas from the lake to generate electricity. But according to experts, this process is extremely slow, and some warn that if it continues carelessly, this very activity could trigger a limnic eruption in the lake. Lake Monoun taught the world what a limnic eruption is. Lake Nyos showed how deadly it can be. And Lake Kivu remains to this day the most dangerous lake on Earth. Looking at the war-torn region around it and its dense population, it would not be wrong to say that within Lake Kivu lies a silent yet terrifying danger. I hope you enjoyed this video by